One, two, one, two, one, two. Let's see if people can hear me. See if people can see me. Jordan, Status Coup, in the house. Long time. Do, do, do. I see some viewers. I see some viewers. Hey there. How's everybody going? How's everybody doing today? Let me send this to this. I think we're live on the Periscope as well. Wait for some more folks to come in here. Yay, you're back. I am back. It's been a while. Nazleel, $10 already in the super chat. Thank you. Hope you're doing well. Keep those super chats coming. We need them. I'll wait till we get over 100 before I officially start the broadcast. Jordan shaved. I did shave. Shaved earlier this afternoon and showered. So when you shower and shave, it's officially a good day here. It's been a while. I hurt my back, so I was trying my best to stay off my back. So a lot of heat, a lot of ice, a lot of stretching. For those of you that are relatively new to the status coup, I had 2 back surgeries, so I don't want a third. So about a week ago, I hurt my back. Just on I missed a stair in my home, and I pulled it. So I kind of know by now, after 2 surgeries, what I have to do and what I don't do. So I pretty much didn't want to sit that long. Obviously, live streams consist of sitting long. So I've been doing a lot of stretching, heat, ice, and I'm finally feeling a little bit better. Although I tried to shovel a lot of snow today, which was not a good idea. That kind of tensed up my back again. But sorry I was out. Thank you so much to John, our cameraman, who went live for us from a few different things. We also had Emma from Minnesota, who's done some freelance work for us. She reported for us at the George Floyd protests months ago. She just went live for us from northern Minnesota to cover the protests against the horrible Line 3 pipeline in northern Minnesota. So we had some great content while I couldn't be live. Of course, Jen, Jesus Christ. Now, the general diagnosis / trends for coronavirus is the worst of it is over in between 10 to 14 days. That's general. But there is a growing subset of people, and unfortunately Jen is one of them, that are considered what they call long haulers, coronavirus long haulers, that it doesn't take 10 to 14 days to get rid of this coronavirus. It could take upwards of a month to 2 months. So Jen has had an on and off fever now for 4 weeks, a month. She has had debilitating fatigue, real bad breathing problems. When I've spoken with her, after a while of talking, she just runs out of breath to continue talking. So thankfully, it hasn't gotten to a point where she would need to be hospitalized, but she is still kind of in that tail end. Her doctor said, you are one of those kind of, you call them long haulers. So unfortunately for her, she's had to deal with this for longer than, 2 weeks. I'll tell you word for word what she told me. Tell them the latest from my doc, because I don't think they heard that in a stream video. Basically, I'm part of a subset of people that has this longer than is typical, and her guess is I will have it for 4 to 4.5 weeks. So that would be about 1 to 1.5 weeks more. A lot of people don't realize that gastrointestinal symptoms are common with COVID. So Jen said she's experienced some gastro issues right now, including nausea, which her doctor gave her medicine for. It's really hard for her to eat anything right now. Ongoing coughing, shortness of breath, improving with ups and downs. But on an upswing, low-grade fever comes and goes, but has been present all day as of recent. She does have severe fatigue, but she's hanging in there. My wife and I sent her a care package, which cheered her up. But she's really had this bad. So obviously keep sending your well wishes to her. Obviously, she's just got to take time. You can't, especially when you have COVID, you don't want to push yourself to get back quicker than you can. It's also tough. I mean, I don't want to speak for her, but she's literally been quarantined from her two kids who are young for a month, meaning separated, not seeing her kids for a month. So there's obviously the physical symptoms, and then there's, the emotional issues with having to quarantine from your kids. But fortunately, and that's her in the chat, by the way, so she's in the chat a little bit. But fortunately, she hasn't had to be hospitalized and anything like that, so that's a good thing. So I have a lot of ground to make up. I haven't been live, I think, in a week. We're going to talk about the whole Jimmy Dore AOC spectacle and all of this. Oh, my God. Jimmy Dore's involved, AOC, David Sirota, all these people. Everybody has a say. And, boy, is it. Get your popcorn. I'm not really that interested in the drama. I'm interested in whether Jimmy's right or not. I'm also going to talk about this Iowa caucus report that came out. Hint for the Republicans. Hint for the progressive media that were crying about election fraud in the general election and the election being stolen from Trump and given to Biden. Hint, I found the election fraud. It was the Iowa caucus, and they stole it from Bernard Sanders. So we're going to get into that. A lot to get into. I want to take your questions, comments, concerns. So smash that like button. We got 260 people watching already. 111 of you have smashed that like button. So I need more of you to press that like button. Please keep the super chats coming. I'm not going to lie to you. With Jen not being able to work right now and me being off for a week, that kind of dried up our revenue for a week. So we would really appreciate any super chats. We still got the GoFundMe going, all those things. I want to get to the Jimmy AOC thing, but I'm going to do that second. I want to start with what I think is, and I'm just going to let it go, a fucking shame. If you're a Game of Thrones viewer, you know the drill. Shame. Yesterday, in a record 3,600 people died because of coronavirus. A record 3,600. This is beginning to show you what all this travel during Thanksgiving did. We're starting to see Thanksgiving travel. The cases skyrocketed, and now the deaths are following. New reported cases, 245,000, another record. And I have no tolerance. If there's trolls today, Corona truthers, I'm not even going to respond because I can't with that brain dead nonsense. So we are entering a very, very horrible, well, we're already there, but it's going to get worse. In the past week, just over 30% of the nation's coronavirus-related deaths were reported in the South and nearly 30% in the Midwest. 3 times as many people in the U.S. are dying each day now than 3 months ago. And the number of new cases is 6 times what it was then. So all of this, all of the health catastrophe, thank you, Lucy, support Status Coup. I agree. All of this health catastrophe mixed with 1.4 million Americans filed new unemployment claims last week, the highest level in weeks. Rising layoffs are an alarm bell that Congress needs to pass more stimulus. Over 20.6 million are on unemployment aid as we head into the holidays. And by the way, in all those 20.6 million, that would be maybe not 20.6, but pretty close, have no health care. Because in this corporation pretending to be a country, we live in the United Corporations of America, health care is tied to whether you have a job or not. So, again, 1.4 million new claims, and that number is going to skyrocket. That number is going to skyrocket. Okay? So, all of this, and the Democratic Party, of course, Trump, he's checked out. He's more focused on his election conspiracy cabal, which we do have video to show you. Colin did a wonderful mashup of John's reporting from these various Stop the Steal rallies, so we'll show you that later. Thank you for the super chat. PJ Max, $5. Best wishes, Jen. Jen actually told me the best medicine for her is a record-breaking amount of super chats. She did tell me that's the medicine, because we need to make some money. She's been off, obviously, for a while, and I was off for a week with this back problem. So the Democratic Party, Trump obviously has checked out. McConnell doesn't care. So we expect this for the Republican Party. The Democratic Party, who helped drive the getaway car for the original shit sandwich, the original CARES Act, where McConnell and Trump looted the Treasury and Pelosi drove the getaway car. $4 trillion they stole. The majority, overwhelming majority, went to corporate America, Wall Street, fossil fuckers, big pharma, big real estate, Silicon Valley, and donors. Now, they're telling you, while we have an unprecedented number of people dying, way more than even on 9/11 died the last few days, over 3,000 people. We have almost 4,000 people yesterday died. When unemployment, 1.4 million more claims, we are being told by the Democratic Party the best we could do is $900 billion. Because the Democratic Party is conceding to the Republican Party's random unwillingness. The Republican Party totally fine with giving $1.5 trillion in tax cuts, which was a giant blowjob, excuse my French, to corporate America. Tax cuts for the wealthy, $1.5 trillion, no problem. But now the Republicans, for some reason, can't go over that $1 trillion line. So the Democrats are telling us, let's just take this now, $900 billion, $300 a week unemployment, which, by the way, if you received the $600 a week unemployment as part of the CARES Act, it wasn't automatic. I could show you the horror stories I read and people I spoke with, the amount of time it took them to get the $600 a week. It wasn't automatic. So we're being sold that $300 a week, which you're lucky if you'll get it by the time New Year's comes, even if it passed today. We're being sold that $300 a week and a check of possibly $600 to $700, which, by the way, the only reason that would even be in there is because of Bernie Sanders and Republican Senator Josh Hawley, who have worked together trying to push stimulus checks. That's some victory that's going to help stave off just economic calamity for people, is $300 a week, which, again, who the hell knows when you're going to get it? Because if coronavirus has shown us anything, our state unemployment systems are a disaster at it actually administering unemployment. If the United States wasn't acting like the United Corporations of America, we'd just be doing what Europe is doing, which is the government is covering the goddamn payrolls. They're not throwing people on some bureaucratic, disastrous system called unemployment. The government is covering the payrolls, so people are still employed. Thomas Horter, $2. Thank you. A year in the life of anxiety, Joe, one day at a time, $5. How do you see the whole stimulus thing going down? What do you see happening in the near future? I'm beginning to think nothing will pass. I'm about to tell you. And we got 450 people watching. 219 of you have smashed that like button. Smash that like button. We need more people to press the like button. So this is a disaster, this $900 billion. The only reason I even bothered to go along with the CARES Act in the first place was $600 a week plus the $1,200 check was something that could at least rescue people and for a while. And at that point, I mean, you had nearly 3,000 deaths a day. You had an unprecedented amount of cases. It was just starting. But I'm done with that shit. There's no more accepting shit sandwiches. And the delusion, I want to play you what Bernie said on this. I have two clips from Bernie. Let me play you the first one, because I love Bernie, but I disagree with him.
You also say this. What President-elect Biden has made clear is that in his judgment, this bill is a down payment that one of the very first things that his administration will do when they take office is to move aggressively to expand upon what we are doing right here. And that, I would hope, means extended unemployment. I would hope it would mean more direct payments to working families in this country. It would mean state and substantial help for state and local government, among many other things.
Bernie, come on. I'm happy you're wearing that mask, Bernie. Keep that mask on. Bernie, I mean, I criticized Bernie during the campaign for being naive. Bernie, this ain't your first rodeo in the United Corporations of America. Do you actually think that if this $900 billion shit sandwich consisting of $300 a week for unemployed people, which, by the way, again, good luck if you could get that unemployment quickly. The horror stories of people taking weeks and weeks and months in some cases to even get that unemployment. A $600 check? What's that going to do? Buy you a few cartons of almond milk in New York City and Los Angeles? Pay for a car, your car that's messed up? Pay a quarter of your rent if you're in large cities? By the way, the PPP money, we're not even talking about the fact that the PPP small business program was one of the biggest scams in American history. A lot of that PPP program meant for small businesses like my parents who own a jewelry store, small business, mom and pop, went to donors, went to wealthy people. I covered it here. PPP small business money went to that fucker, that host on Shark Tank, Kevin O'Leary, a multimillionaire. So we're declaring these things as a victory, but the key here is, Bernie and the Democrats that are saying this, if this goes through, $900 billion, that's it. If you are delusional enough to think, as of now, I believe, could be wrong, as of now, I believe the Republicans will win those 2 Georgia Senate seats. Maybe one of the Democrats will win and one of the Republicans will win, but Democrats need to win both of those seats to win. So, assuming that Republicans still have the control of the Senate, you think Republicans, after their argument will be, we gave you $2 trillion in March and April, then we gave you another $900 billion in December. And all of a sudden, they're going to care again about the debt. Because we know when Republicans are in power, they don't give a god. They don't care about the debt. Tax cuts for everybody. War for everybody. They don't care about the debt. And then we're in the minority. All of a sudden, they care about the debt again. You know, rinse and repeat. This is what the Republican Party does. They're a bunch of substanceless, soulless, morality-less. And their ideology is power. They don't care about the debt or deficit unless they are in the minority and they could use it to stop aid for working people and vulnerable people. The Republicans, under Joe Biden, you'd be lucky if you could get 1 vote in the Republican Senate for a stimulus authored by incoming President Joe Biden. You got March and April, and now they're going to say we just did this in December. The vaccine, they'll say, is going to be more widely distributed in a few months. We can't give you any more money. So this notion that Bernie's pushing and that Biden is pushing and that the corporate Democrats are pushing, that this right now is an emergency fund. It's a down payment. There will be more coming under Biden. You're naive if you think that's going to happen. Biden might try, but if you think the Republicans, after giving $900 billion, which is not enough, right now we need at least $4 to $5 trillion, maybe more. We need the PPP program to actually go to small businesses, not fucking donors and wealthy people. Thank you for the super chat, Gabriel. My friends from Sweden, keep up the good work. Regards from Sweden. Hashtag single payer, hashtag UBA. Love Sweden. Love your chocolate, too. And we got 620 people watching. Smash that like button. Oh, and wait till I get to the Jimmy Dore AOC Medicare for All thing, because I have a lot of thoughts, but I haven't felt good enough to go live for about a week. So I want to play the rest of this Bernie clip, because the corporate media is now trying to do what they always do and make Bernie Sanders seem like the radical person, not the Democrats that are agreeing to literally airlifting of crumbs to the masses as they are lying, bleeding out economically. Literally, the media and the Democratic Party are proposing airlifting crumbs as the masses, many of whom are watching right now, are bleeding out, have had no federal help since July 26th. July, August, September, October, November, December. 5 months they've had no federal relief. Let's see how MSNBC tried to set up Bernie today. Hold on. Let me try to figure out the sound. Can't hear it. One second. All right. Let me try to do it this way. One second. Let me try to do it this way. One second.
Much for being here. I had Mark Warner on my show yesterday. I know Hallie had him on her show earlier today. He said the same thing. I want to play you one of those bites.
We had in our unemployment the bipartisan plan, 16 weeks of both increased unemployment for people who were expiring from their unemployment the day after Christmas. It included the 16 weeks for the gig workers, independent contractors, and it included a full 16 weeks of a $300 a week plus up. We thought that was very important to get to those people most in need. I think because the president and even some folks that call themselves progressives wanted stimulus checks more important than that assistance. You had to take it out of some pot, and I'm afraid that the relief for the unemployed may be a shorter period of time.
This is a feeling among some of the Democrats about the progressive wing and the complaint and the pulling of the direct stimulus money from the unemployment. What is your response?
No, that is unfortunately, I think, not an accurate statement on the part of Senator Warner. The truth is that when the negotiators gave up on $160 billion for state and local, the direct payments would be about $150 billion. On top of that, very recently, as I understand it, there is an additional $30 billion. Additional $30 billion going into the small business program. So there was more than enough money to do what obviously should have been done, and that is to make sure that we extend unemployment for 16 weeks. I'm disappointed that that is not the case. My own view is that the essential problem here is that back in March when we passed the CARES Act, that was $2.2 trillion. Right now, in the midst of a terrible pandemic where the economy is in disastrous shape, all that we are talking about now is $900 billion. That is an inadequate sum of money to do what has to be done. But one of the things that has to be done, what the American people want, what the economists tell us is very important, is to put money into the hands of people today who cannot pay their rent, who don't have enough money to go to the doctor, in fact, can't even feed their kids. There's economic desperation out there. The American people want help. They need help. I had proposed a $1,200 check for adults, $600 for kids, with a maximum income of $75,000 for an individual, $150,000 for a couple. We're at $600 now for adults, $600 for kids. This will be a step forward in providing a modicum of relief to people who are struggling right now. But it's not either or. It should be both.
Democrats are on the same page about that. They wanted more money in this bill. They wanted both in there. That didn't happen. And so because that didn't happen, because this direct stimulus payment was taken from the unemployment insurance, shortening the time.
No, it wasn't, Katie. Katie, it was not. Katie, that's not quite correct. Democrats, the negotiators, withdrew $160 billion for state and local. The program that I am fighting for cost $150 billion. And on top of that, they put more money into...
That's not in there any longer. No, I'm not arguing that point. That money is not in there any longer. For some reason, I don't know why it's not in there any longer. And you're saying that's bad negotiating. I get that. But because where we stand right now, I mean, I guess if this is the best that's going to come out of this bipartisan agreement,
I can't watch any more of that fucking bullshit. First of all, why in the world? Oh, by the way, just so you know, Mark Warner, who is the corporate Democrat, who in the beginning of that clip, when the audio wasn't working, he said there are some people who are calling themselves progressive, talking about Bernie Sanders. He's the one rationalizing this $900 billion shit sandwich. You know how much Mark Warner is worth? Do you know how much this man is worth? He's worth $90 million. He is the richest senator in the country. How did he make his money? Guess it. Wall Street venture capitalist. So I don't really want to hear a goddamn thing from Mark Warner about who's progressive and who's not, or how much money we should be giving the American people during an unprecedented deadly pandemic in which 3,600 people died yesterday. 308,000 have died total. Bernie Sanders, I think, was trying to say this, and thank you, Tanya H. 20, what is that, euros. Bernie Sanders, what he was trying to say, enough with this ridiculous framing that to give more money for the direct stimulus checks, which, by the way, $1,200 is not enough either. That's a joke, too, but better than nothing. Why are we allowing these people to gaslight us during a deadly pandemic with the framing that the only way that we could increase the stimulus checks is by taking money, moving money out of unemployment, or that the only way that we could increase the amount of time the unemployment benefits will last is taking money out of something? No. This is the goddamn problem with the Democratic Party, and excuse me, I'm fired up. They surrender right out of the gate Republican framing because they are Republicans. First of all, the Democratic Party, contrary to what the Republicans are saying, contrary to, what lunatics are saying, just won the presidential election. That's called momentum. The Democratic Party, is on the brink, if they don't fuck it up, of possibly retaking the Senate if they win these 2 seats in Georgia. The Democratic Party, by a wide margin, if they were willing to fight, has the overwhelming majority of the American people. Look at the polls. Look at the pain on its side to fight the Republicans on more stimulus money, more unemployment, and the Republican Party needs to win these 2 Senate seats. That's the only thing Mitch McConnell cares about. The Supreme Court and keeping the Senate. So why wouldn't you very publicly fight the Republicans right now? Why wouldn't you very publicly fight Trump right now? That no, $900 billion is not enough. The vaccine is not coming widely distributed for everybody probably until April or May. So, no, $300 a week is not enough. No, to increase the stimulus checks, we're not going to take money out of unemployment to give stimulus checks. That is absurd. I'm not coughing because of COVID. I'm coughing because I'm fired up. 775 people watching. 465 of you have pressed the like button. Smash that like button. Why do we allow them to gaslight us that nothing real is possible? Why do we allow them and Mark Warner to say, well, Bernie, if we're going to increase the checks for stimulus, by the way, $600 checks, kudos to Bernie for getting it because they didn't want to include any, but that's a fucking slap in the face. Yes, $600 check. What the hell are you going to do with $600 if you've been unemployed for months? If your small business is going under? Nambians, $10. Please stop defending Bernie. He is gaslighting us when he could have been president. Bernie is here to keep us from forming a third party. Keep giving him hell, progressive bear Jew. Thanks for the bear Jew comment. I'm not defending Bernie. I'm pointing out that the corporate media is trying to make him the boogeyman right now when the corporate media and the corporate Democrats are the boogeyman. I don't want to relitigate the primary. I've already said why I thought he was weak in the primary. Let's move on. But it is ridiculous. MSNBC, CNN are pushing this as some bipartisan victory if this goes through. A bipartisan victory? Yeah, $300 a week if you're lucky to get it immediately. People that are going to get the unemployment, they're not getting that $300 a week right now, and they needed it months ago. A $600 stimulus check? What are you going to do with that? It's going to be in your mail, in the door, out the door in 10 seconds. That's not going to help pay your bills. The PPP program? Are you serious? The PPP program was looted and stolen from. Money meant for small businesses was going to donors, real estate developers. The host of Shark Tank, one of the judges that I exposed, multimillionaire, was getting PPP money. I'm sorry. But this, again, and most importantly of all this, if the Democrats, if progressives in the House, I know people need help. I know some would say, Jordan, devil's advocate, isn't something better than nothing? No, we have to stop thinking that way. If you keep thinking that way and allowing them to serve you shit sandwich with a gun to your head, we're always going to be in a position to say, well, we got to take it because something's better than nothing. Let's stop accepting something's better than nothing. Let's start attacking them, not violently, but attacking them for offering us nothing during a deadly pandemic. Why is Canada right now, Canadian citizens are getting $500 a week? $500 a week. That would be $2,000 a month. Canada has less cases than us. They're getting $500 a week, $2,000 a month, and we are a richer country than Canada. Hello to my Canadian friends. Love maple old fashions. I mean, it's absurd. Why is European countries, the government is just covering people's payrolls. They don't have millions of people on unemployment because that's a mindless, lunatic bureaucracy that's not effective. And we're supposed to celebrate? I'm watching CNN and MSNBC because they love bipartisan compromise, even if that bipartisan compromise fucks you endlessly. Bipartisan compromise between the Democrats and the Republicans, like the crime bill, like NAFTA, like welfare reform, like the Patriot Act, like the Iraq War, like repealing Glass-Steagall. I mean, this is insane. So no, this is not a victory. And by the way, most importantly, save this video. If the Democratic Party, if Mark Warner and Nancy Pelosi and all these people accept this under the framing, which is a bullshit framing, by the way, that this is just this bill, this is just a down payment. My wife says I need soap in my mouth. That's true. This is just a down payment until, rescuer Biden comes in. Our hero Biden comes in. He's going to then give an even bigger bill with more money in unemployment, more direct stimulus. Yeah, on what fucking planet is the Republicans going to offer him one vote? Maybe Mitt Romney. Other than him, where is Joe Biden getting enough votes in the Senate, which as of now will still be in Republican control, to pass another stimulus? Because the Republican Party, we know this. The Republican Party is going to say, we already gave $2 trillion in March and April. We just gave another $900 billion. That's it. The vaccine is being distributed. Everything will go back to normal in a few months. We suddenly care about the debt, the debt apocalypse again. We can't have any more debt unless it's for tax cuts for corporations and wealthy people. Then we could have debt. If it's for war, we could have debt. If it's for subsidies to Goldman Sachs, subsidies to the fossil fuckers, subsidies to big pharma, subsidies to big real estate, subsidies to big Silicon Valley, subsidies to big real estate, we could have all the debt in the world. Afghanistan, 20 years next year, debt's not a problem. For working people, to rescue them, no, too much debt. This is ridiculous. And I got to tell you, I don't want Bernie to go off because I want him to save his immune system during COVID. He's an old man. And I'd rather him have an N95 mask on, to tell you the truth. The mask he has on is not protective enough. But whatever. He needs to fight harder. Where the hell is AOC? Where the hell is Rashida Tlaib? Ro Khanna? Pramila Jayapal? Ilhan Omar? Ayanna Pressley? Are you kidding? We're going to accept this and then say, oh, but this is just for now because Biden's going to come in and do a bigger one. Biden's not going to be able to pass anything. And that's assuming Biden would even try to do anything larger than this. This notion that, oh, he's a Republican and he's from the good old days of the 80s and 90s where the Democrats and Republicans worked together. So he's going to be able to get Republicans to work together. Yeah, how'd that work out for Obama? You remember the financial crash where Obama did a $750 billion stimulus? 2/3 of it were tax cuts and job retraining. There was no direct stimulus. This is it. If they accept $900 billion, that's it. You're not getting anything else. Which is a good segue. Boy, you take off for a week, and Jimmy Dore is the number one trender on Twitter. Jimmy Dore is the number one thing trending. He's getting in fights with every goddamn person on the earth. David Sirota's involved. AOC's involved. Katie Halper. I mean, I couldn't keep up. And thank you. Keep those super chats coming. Holy cow, they're raining. Lauren, 1999. Thank you. Gene Shahid, $4.99. Swear jar. Appreciate it. Mike Blair, when you know MMT, all of these are even more infuriating. Thank you, Mike. That's a good point. I've had Steve Grumbine on here all the time. This whole idea that we need to pull money from unemployment assistance to give if we're going to have the checks. No, you don't. You want to know why? Because we fucking print our own money. We have all the money in the world for all of this. They could pull it. They could just move a decimal, a digital decimal, by the way, right now, and give $5 trillion right now. The only thing you got to monitor is inflation. But they could do $5 trillion right now. They can give $2,000 a month to every person in America right now, until this vaccine is widely distributed and until the economy starts to recover. They're not going to do that because we live in this false notion that we got to pay for things and blah, blah, blah. No, you don't. We print our own money. I digress. Thank you for the MMT thing. I should have mentioned that. So, Jimmy Dore, I guess you could say has a little bombast from time to time. I don't agree with him on everything. I've had private conversations with him when I tell him I think he's going too far. I told him I think you're going too far in calling Bernie a fucking coward, sellout, all these things, because I do. I do think he went too far on that regard. And I think that Jimmy, also, whether it's Jimmy, me, or anybody else, it's really goddamn easy to be a YouTube person ranting. It's a lot harder to be an elected official. That doesn't mean we shouldn't challenge elected officials. That doesn't mean we shouldn't call out progressives when they're wrong. Okay? But let's just say it's easier to be on YouTube ranting and saying, this is obvious, this is common sense, when, you're not an elected official. But on this, I believe Jimmy is right. And to me, I don't really give a fuck that this idea came from Jimmy. I don't even care about the drama and the back and forth online between Jimmy and this person and that person and all the drama. It's like every day as the progressive media turns, that soap opera, as the world turns, it doesn't matter. I'm sure Jimmy loves the attention. God bless him. I agree with him on the idea that's the most important. Frankly, I don't want to sound like his mother. I don't think he should be, ranting and raving that AOC is fuck this, fuck that, sell out this. I think, Mama Sheridan, Lori Sheridan said, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. I don't always follow that golden rule. But Mama Sheridan always said, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. So I think Jimmy is 100% right. And I'll tell you why. Thank you to Colin Tooley. I don't see anybody bringing up what I'm about to show you. But Colin made this handy-dandy graphic. The top row here, okay? The top row here is what I would call the current, let's just say, capital P progressives in the House of Representatives. Ayanna Pressley, she got a little Elizabeth Warren in her. But let's just, for argument's sake, say we got AOC, Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar, Ayanna Pressley, Ro Khanna, Pramila Jayapal, and Mark Pocan. Mark Pocan is a congressman from Wisconsin. He endorsed Bernie, campaigned for Bernie. He's part of the Medicare for All caucus. He's progressive. So that's 7 right there. Right on top. Okay? The bottom is incoming. You got Jamal Bowman. As far as I could tell, pretty damn progressive. You got Cori Bush. I've met her. I've covered her. Pretty damn progressive. I don't agree with Jimmy ranting and raving, attacking Jamal and Cori Bush before they've even got into Congress. Chill out, man. They're not even there yet. So, right there, if you count the 7 we got up top with those two, Jamal Bowman, Cori Bush, that's 9. That's 9. Okay? Then you got these 3. We'll, for argument's sakes, group them in. Marie Newman, she just won in Illinois. She's for Medicare for all. AOC endorsed her. Mondaire Jones ran in New York. He's for Medicare for all. Richie Torres, don't know much about him, but he just won in New York. For Medicare for all. Okay? So that's 7 that we currently have, and potentially another 5 coming in January. 7 plus 5. I failed math. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That's 12. That's 12 pretty strong progressives. For argument's sakes, I don't know much about Richie Torres. I don't know much about Mondaire Jones. So even if it were 10. And then you got that wonderful question mark in Nina Turner, who has announced she's running to replace Congresswoman Marcia Fudge. It's not a slam dunk that she's going to win, but I think she's got a great shot. So for now, she's just there. She's not definitely coming, but potentially Tulsi Gabbard's leaving Congress. Tulsi Gabbard's leaving Congress. And frankly, I think she's been a little questionable lately. But Tulsi Gabbard's out of Congress in January. She's leaving. So potentially you got 13 progressives. Okay? So I'm not trying to dox this person. I don't even know who this person is, but I just screenshotted this as an example. When I see people defending AOC as what Jimmy's proposing, which is to demand that Nancy Pelosi put Medicare for all, give it a floor vote in exchange for progressives to vote for her for speaker. I mean, you see this all over the place. We got 1,000 people watching right now. Smash that like button. 1,000 people watching, 660 likes. This person, I don't know who it is. Not trying to be rude. I think what's being said is we have no genuine power to create the floor vote you're suggesting. I don't know. I'm not great at math, but here's the current House majority. Currently, the Democratic Party have the majority by 4 votes. You need 218 votes. It's called a simple majority. You need 208. Pelosi needs 218 votes to be speaker. You need 218 votes for most bills to then be moved to the Senate from the House. Right now, the Democrats only have the majority by 4 seats. And I don't know if you can see it here. There's two congressional races still outstanding. One is in Iowa, where the Republican is narrowly leading, and one is in New York, where the Republican is narrowly leading. So that Democrat majority might be smaller than what you see on the screen once those elections are finalized and certified. So I don't understand what people are talking about, that we have no leverage, that we have no power, that it's hopeless, because I just showed you, and again, thank you to Colin for making this, we have the majority by 4 votes. Nancy Pelosi needs 218 votes to be reelected as Speaker right now. If we wanted to play, if we wanted to play hardball, you have the votes to deprive her as Speaker. Even more, when these 5 come in, that adds even more. That's 12 people. 12 progressives who have ran and championed Medicare for all. So, I don't know, can somebody help me out? Am I missing something? If Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats only have the majority by 4 seats, a 4-seat majority, and you have 12 progressives that will be there when her speaker vote is going to happen. What do you mean we have no leverage? What do you mean we have no power? Yes, we have leverage. By the way, to me, this is about way more than just Medicare for all vote. Thank you, Mr. Justice, $48. Or CHF, I don't know what currency that is. Where is Sanders on forced to vote? So disappointed again. Moment of truth for AOC, whether she is another DNC career climber. Jimmy is doing a great job. Well, I think right now Bernie's focusing on the coronavirus stimulus, but I agree. I want him on the record that they should pass a floor vote. But to me, this is even bigger than just pushing a Medicare for all vote. And I'll get into why I think that is a smart thing, and I just disagree with AOC. But the Tea Party, which I'm not saying we should model ourselves after them ideologically. Most of them were a bunch of racist assholes. But strategically, they came and they took political prisoners and they held hostages. Why? Because they had the numbers to block John Boehner as the Republican speaker. They had the numbers to block appointments by John Boehner. They had the numbers to block legislation by John Boehner. They had the numbers to block him being become reelected as speaker. Right now, based on the Democrats' small House majority, progressives, as we speak, even before these new people come in, they have the numbers. If those 7 said, no, we're not automatically going to vote for Nancy Pelosi, we want something in return. Well, she ain't going to get votes from Republicans. She wouldn't be speaker. So this idea that there's no leverage, there's no power right now, is a myth. We do have the leverage, we do have the numbers, and we're having even more numbers coming in. And oh, by the way, Nina Turner might be joining them. So then we get to the actual brunt of this. AOC, according to her, it's not that she doesn't want a floor vote on Medicare for all. Strategically, she thinks it's a mistake. That you only have so much political capital, and why are we going to bother doing it if we know it's not going to go anywhere? Well, I mean, why did Martin Luther King do the protests he did? Do you know when Martin Luther King, I mean, I wasn't alive, but I know history. I think healthcare is a civil right and a human right. I'm not comparing it to the oppression and sin that is slavery and black people. But the point is, not everything you do in terms of a movement, in terms of justice, is about strategy. It's about raising public consciousness. It's about curbing the arc of history. It's about seizing on moments and crises that are unprecedented. So I believe AOC is right in terms of, even if they got a floor vote on Medicare for all, it obviously wouldn't pass. Even if we were surprised that it did pass, Biden has already said he would veto it if it came to his desk. But it's not, you don't ultimately win if you choose not to fight, citing, well, strategically it wouldn't pass, so this and that. You have to start going on offense. You have to start going on offense. And no, you are not going to win the first. Right away, you're not going to win. No, you're not going to win on the second try. You're not going to win on the third try. You're not going to win on the fourth try. It's going to take a lot more than this idea from Jimmy to make Medicare for all a thing. But 10 years ago, it was laughable. It wasn't even a term, Medicare for all. Public opinion and public polling was widely against Medicare for all, single payer. Just like 15, 20 years ago, public opinion was against gay marriage. But the people pushing gay marriage, the people pushing Fight for 15, they didn't say, well, let's not try to get people on the record now because it wouldn't pass now. I mean, that just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. it doesn't. What makes sense is seeing when you have critical opportunities. You know, Bush's people said never, and Rahm Emanuel, by the way, said never let a good crisis go to waste. I think in most cases they exploited crises for their own political benefit to give sexual favors to Wall Street. In this case, we have a crisis, which is the coronavirus. It's killed 307,000 people, and there are tens of millions of people that don't have health care. We already had 30 million people without health care. Now we probably got closer to 50 to 60 million without health care. So now is the time to, no, I'm sorry, AOC, it's not enough that, oh, well, we already know who's for it or not. We have the list of sponsors, of co-sponsors. That's not real. That's ridiculous. Thank you for the super chat. John Maba, $5. Stop, Jordan. Those public servants are 435 of the most powerful people in the world. Whether on YouTube or not, no need to babysit or be nice to them. First of all, I'm criticizing AOC. What I was saying is I don't think Jimmy is right to say she's a fucking this, she's a fucking that, fuck. They're cowards, they're sellouts, this and that. That's just, we're different in that way. I think when you go that way, yes, people are angry. Jimmy is angry. I get it. But you are alienating your allies. You might have a good idea. He's got a good idea. I'm agreeing with his idea. But when you start attacking the people that are your friends and are your allies, you could attack them on the policy. You could say you are wrong. You could demand answers from them why you won't do this thing that we want you to do. You ran as a champion for the working class. You ran on Medicare for all. So you can attack her, but do it constructively. Don't be calling people fucking cowards and sellouts and this and that. I'm sorry. That you're alienating people that can move into your corner. I mean, I don't really care if Jimmy hears this. It's true. And I agree with him on the merits. But this whole idea that if AOC or others don't 100% agree with Jimmy or don't 100% agree with you, that means they're fucking cowards and sellouts. This is extremism. And what that's going to lead to is progressives being in the minority till we're all dead and long after we're dead. I'm not saying be nice to like Pelosi and them. What I'm saying is don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Okay? I don't think Jordan's not fighting hard. Go fuck yourself, okay? I've been to Flint 17 times. Okay? You go fight hard. I don't fight hard. Why? Because I'm not ranting like Jimmy. I'm not fighting hard. Get the fuck out of here, Monarch. Ridiculous. The bottom line is, you could be right on the merits, but push people away that could come to your corner, that could come to fight with you by ranting and raving and calling people that don't automatically right away agree with you fucking sellouts, this, that, and the other thing. And Jimmy says it himself. He's a jack-off comedian. So this is his shtick. I think it's real. I think he's really an angry guy. I don't think he's faking it. But I do think you were right, but stop pushing people away. So that's my opinion. I agree with them on the merits. I don't agree with how he communicates. It's just like I told him, I don't agree with you calling Bernie a coward, this and that. You could disagree with people that you once considered progressive champions. You could no longer support them, but you don't need to rant and rave that they're sellouts and they're cowards and they're fuck and this. I just disagree. Cheryl Tyler, $10. You're exactly right about Jimmy. Name calling accomplishes nothing, especially with your allies. So the bottom line is this, and it's not just about Medicare for all, folks. It's not just about Medicare for all. If the progressives don't fight, no, I totally agree. We're forcing a Medicare for all vote in exchange for telling Pelosi, with the numbers that we do have, and we have the numbers, and I'm going to be using this graphic a lot, saying, hey, Pelosi, you only have a 4-seat majority right now. You only have a 4-seat majority. We have 12 progressives that are prepared not to vote for you unless we get a floor vote on Medicare for all. I'm telling you straight up, no, I don't think Medicare for all is going to pass. But I'm also telling you that doesn't mean we shouldn't try. That doesn't mean we shouldn't fight. And the notion that if we fight on this, it's going to prevent us from getting any other things. Who the fuck are you kidding that we're going to get anything else under a President Biden? The way that you move and shift things from being popular, from leading in the polls, which Medicare for All does. I mean, a recent Fox News poll said 70% agreed with it. That's a Fox News poll. But the way you change, the way things evolve from being performative, as some in the AOC corner were saying, this is just performative, the way it moves from performative to actually passing is fighting. Not once, not twice, not 5 times, not 10 times, a lot. But you got to start with the first step. It's not enough, sorry AOC, it's not enough to have the list of co-sponsors. We need a debate on the floor on universal health care during a deadly pandemic. We need to hear debate, and that should be part of it, not just a vote, a debate. We need to hear debate and explanation why during a deadly pandemic with 307,000 deaths, tens of millions with no health care, why we still don't provide health care as a right. We need it explained as part of that debate from experts. Why the fact that we don't have single payer, the fact that we don't have Medicare for all contributed to the death, because a lot of people who were sick chose not to go get tested and didn't go to the hospital because they didn't want to risk the bill. That's not my opinion. Google it. There are tons and tons and tons, I can't put a number on it, of people who would not go get a coronavirus test because they didn't want to pay for it. Contrary to the gaslighting, it wasn't free for everybody. And there were people who would not go to the hospital because they didn't want to bankrupt their families. That's because we have for-profit health care. So this is the time. And I don't agree. I tweeted yesterday, listen, I respect AOC, but she's twisting herself into a human pretzel right now to rationalize and explain why it's not good strategy to do this, why it's not smart, why if we do this, we're preventing opportunities for victories elsewhere. What kind of victories, she says? Getting more progressives to run committees. Who the fuck cares about progressives running committees? It doesn't matter if progressives run the committees, because the committees, whatever they decide on, has to ultimately go through the House leadership. If the Democrats take the Senate, through the Democrats' leadership, and ultimately signed by the president. So it doesn't matter if you get every squad member to run every committee. If whatever is decided by those committee chairs goes through the higher-ups, which is Pelosi, Schumer, and then Biden, it's just going on it's a fast track to the graveyard. So I don't care about progressives winning committee seats and leadership positions. This isn't a fucking fraternity or sorority. Until we could actually win the presidency, until we could get more progressives into the House and Senate. But what is the point? What is the point? If you're a progressive, what is the point of continually donating your money? And you all aren't rich that are watching. What is the point of continually donating your money, volunteering, pushing for these candidates under the goal of we got to get more progressives in the House. We got to get more progressives in the Senate. Once we have the numbers, then we could actually do shit. Well, as you could see, we're starting to have the numbers. We are going to have 12 people come January, whatever the day is that this new Congress comes in. We're going to have 12 progressives, possibly 13 if Nina Turner wins, that are strongly for Medicare for all, that ran on it. You can force a vote. You can block other legislation that Pelosi tries as Speaker if she doesn't immediately if it's not going to be total Medicare for all, if she doesn't give progressives what they want in other areas. It's time to hold political hostages. So for those calling me soft and saying I'm not, whatever, no, I agree with Jimmy on the merits. I just don't agree with, listen, I ain't no prude, okay? I curse plenty. I'm pretty tough, okay? If you knew the kinds of stories I'm working on behind the scenes right now, I'm not afraid of anybody. But the one thing strategically that I disagree with Jimmy's on, Jimmy, you could have righteous indignation. And the people that watch Jimmy and are calling me soft because I'm not ranting as loudly as him and calling them fucking cowards and this and that, righteous indignation is good. Alienating allies is bad. And you could say, well, Jordan, they're showing they're not allies. Just because somebody doesn't agree with you on every single thing, just because someone doesn't agree with you 100% of the time, does not make them a sellout. This is sophomoric, immature, high school thinking. It doesn't make one a sellout if they don't agree with you on every single thing. But we need to push them constructively. Keyword, constructively. To get to where we think they should be. So if you keep calling someone a fucking coward, a sellout, this and that, do you think that's going to make them do what you want them to do? It's just human nature. If you keep calling people cowards, sellouts, feckless, this and that, they're not going to want to do what you want them to do because they're human beings too. So, bottom line, I agree with Jimmy, and I think more importantly than just forcing a Medicare for all vote, anyone who tells you we don't have the numbers yet, we don't have the power yet, we don't have leverage, they don't know math. Because I've already shown you this is the numbers. This is Democrats only have control by 4 seats, and that might go down because there's 2 more elections that haven't been certified. So Pelosi needs 218 votes to be reelected speaker. Right now, she's only got four over that. She needs 218 votes to pass anything by simple majority. So if progressives would stop fucking around, stop trying to be diplomatic with a corporatist right-wing warmonger, stop trying to, see the longer game. No, they are your political enemies. You need to treat them like your political enemies. A lot of people held their nose, bit their tongue, and voted for Biden to get rid of Trump. That's over with now. Now it's time to treat the Democrats, who are basically just Republican lights, as your political enemy. And with enemies, you don't trim around the edges. You fucking go at them straight at their nose. To be clear, I'm not talking about being violent, but I'm talking about politically, you got to put up a fight. And it doesn't mean you shouldn't try it if it's not immediately the first time going to work. But it is different to have a debate on the floor of the House. It is different to actually have a roll call of people who voted. You could use that in primarying those people. You run the ads during a deadly pandemic. This is how X, Y, and Z congressperson voted on Medicare for all, while public polling, 70-something% of the country wanted it during a deadly pandemic, and your congressperson voted against it. Oh, let's take a look how much money they take from the pharmaceutical industry, from for-profit health care. Very different having them yes or no on the record than did they co-sponsor it or not. And more importantly, the Progressive Caucus needs to make a decision. Do you want to, be pals with this caucus? Do you want, with the corporate Democrats, do you want to play a long game thinking that if you play nice with them, eventually they'll see the light? Eventually they'll see the light and start actually making decisions based on representing their constituents rather than their donors? You think you're going to rewire a bunch of old millionaire dinosaurs that is Congress? They need to realize we don't live in a country. We live in the United Corporations of America, and the corporate Democrats are they are board members of the United Corporations of America. So I agree. I'm with Jimmy on this. I'm not getting into the drama of Jimmy, first David Sirota, first this, first. I don't give a shit. This isn't high school. I don't care about the personalities involved. And I don't know. I can't think of one reason in the world why any of these people would vote for Nancy Pelosi as Speaker. I just can't. Stop giving your vote to the enemy and fight the enemy. There's no more Trump boogeyman to hold over us. They gaslit us for 4 years about Trump and Russia. There's no more Trump, even though he wants to remain and is fighting his little election fraud conspiracy. He's out. So let's take it to them. And we could, wax and wane about strategy and this and that. Bottom line, you're never going to get Medicare for all or anything else passed unless you fight. Unless you fight. So let's fight. So, moving on, because I got one more story, and this is a couple days old, but again, I haven't been live for a while. And by the way, keep pressing the like button. I want to remind you, by the way, we finally, thank God, we had a huge drop in members since April, and we realized something didn't smell right. We realized that our website was hacked. Our website got hacked. Because of that hacking, nobody's no members, no Status Coup members' financial information was taken. Your financial information isn't even stored on our website. It's stored with PayPal and Stripe. But because of the hack, the payment process didn't go through for months. So it was appearing that we lost a lot of members. Thank God, our tech team, we now have a tech team that's pretty expensive, by the way, to pay for. They fixed the back end of our website, so our membership has finally been going back up as the payments have been going through. Basically, there was a glitch that was preventing payments from going through for hundreds of members. Now those payments are going through. So we're back up to 1,761 members, but we got to build more. We got to build more. So consider signing up as a member, statuscoup.com/join for as low as $5 a month. When Jen is feeling better, we will have our monthly members call. We're probably going to do 2 calls as soon as she's better, because she's been sick for so long that we didn't do a members call last month, and we haven't done one this month, but I don't want to do it without her because we do it together. So sign up, statuscoup.com/join for just $5 a month. Keep supporting us. That's how we're sending John out on the road. We got to pay him per event. We got to pay Colin, pay Jen, pay me. It's expensive. Plus travel, plus I'm working on something behind the scenes, which I think you're really, 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 really going to like. So definitely sign up if you can. Mr. Justice, $10. If progressives were fighting like Republicans, they would force the vote on Medicare for all, and after that, replace Pelosi away with someone more popular than herpes. I like that. So I want to get to this because, to me, this is a fucking scandal. Everybody's been ranting. Oh, the Republicans have been ranting about election fraud. And some progressive outlets have been talking about, basically cheering them on with this bullshit. There is election fraud. It happened in 2016 against Bernie Sanders, and it happened in 2020 against Bernie Sanders. Thomas, $4.99. At this time, if you support Pelosi, then you are a sellout. So, did you see this Iowa caucus report? The autopsy of what went wrong? This report is literally an admission that the DNC, behind the scenes, was the mastermind behind this whole fucking thing that deprived Bernie Sanders of a normal victory. It is incredibly, incredibly fraudulent and shady. And frankly, some people should probably be in jail for this. I'm not going to read you the whole thing, but I'll read you some of it. I found the fraud. It's not Trump and Biden. It's the Iowa caucus. Democratic National Committee meddling combined with missteps by the state party of Iowa were the primary drivers of the chaos that torpedoed the Iowa caucuses earlier this year, according to a new audit commissioned by the state party. The report, which was distributed to the state party at the meeting Saturday, identified a series of errors made by the DNC, the Iowa State Party, and the technology company Shadow. The February caucuses were overrun by foul-ups. The state party was unable to report a winner on caucus night. The mobile app to report results failed to work for many precinct chairs. The backup telephone systems were jammed, and some precincts had initial reporting errors. The state party chair, Troy Price, resigned in the wake of the debacle, which put Iowa's status as the first in the nation nominating contest in jeopardy. Good. Even if you're watching from Iowa, I'm sorry. Get rid of it. This caucus system has to go. But the report pins the blame squarely on the DNC. Who runs the DNC? Tom Perez. For the heart of the problem on caucus night, the delay in the reporting of the results. According to the report, the DNC demanded the technology company Shadow, which, oh, by the way, the developers and CEO were all Hillary Clinton campaign workers from 2016. Oh, by the way, Shadow was used by the Pete Buttigieg campaign. The DNC demanded that Shadow build a conversion tool just weeks before the caucuses to allow the DNC to have real-time access to the raw numbers because the National Party feared the app would miscalculate the results. The DNC's data system used a different database format than Shadow's reporting app, which caused multiple problems. Here we go. This is the key part here. According to the report, the DNC demanded the technology company Shadow build a conversion tool just weeks before the caucuses to allow the DNC to have real-time access to the raw numbers. Why would the DNC, which, by the way, folks, not to get into the weeds here, is a private company. DNC is a private company. Why should the DNC have the raw, real-time numbers? Or let me put it differently. Why would the DNC want the raw, real-time numbers of the Iowa caucus? Could you think of a reason why the DNC would want the real, raw numbers for the Iowa caucus? I don't know. Bernie Sanders had raised more money than anybody ever. I don't know. Bernie was polling in the lead heading into Iowa before the Des Moines Register spiked that poll. The last poll the Des Moines Register stopped because Pete Buttigieg's campaign complained that one voter was called by the pollster and wasn't given Pete as a choice. Why should the DNC, a private company, it's not a governmental body, look it up, it's a private company, want real-time updates of the numbers? I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I also have a brain, and I think common sense. They wanted the real-time numbers to know if Bernie was going to be victorious. So, and again, I'm a journalist. I don't have evidence that they did this. So they could they say the Russians sow chaos. No. The DNC wanted to sow chaos. And interestingly enough, let's look at the sequence. That Des Moines Register poll, first time ever, the Des Moines Register is the gold standard for polling ahead of the Iowa caucus. First time ever, they spiked the poll because one voter said, when the pollster called me, Pete wasn't given as a choice. I'm sure if one voter called and said Bernie wasn't given a choice, they would have spiked the poll, right? But the poll leaked. 538, Nate Silver's website. They got the poll. And what did it show before the Iowa caucus? Just days before the Iowa caucus. And thank you so much for the super chat. M, $20. Value Status Coup, but my fitty is with Jimmy Dore on this one. I'm with Jimmy Dore too. We agree on the merits. I was just saying, I think you're alienating allies by calling them all fucking disgraces and cowards. On the merits, I'm with Jimmy. But I'm sorry, I'm not going to just tell people what they want to hear. I don't think he's going about it the right way by ranting and raving and calling people like AOC and others fucking cowards, fucking sellouts, fucking this, fucking that. It's fine and it's good. It's probably entertaining for you. It probably scratches your righteous anger and indignation, but it alienates allies. That's what I'm saying. So I don't disagree with Jimmy. I do disagree with how he's going about it. That's what I'm saying. But Bernie Sanders, in the poll that was leaked, that they shut down, was leading by 4 points heading into the Iowa caucus just days before. Pete Buttigieg was in a distant third place. Pete Buttigieg was in third place. Bernie was leading. So you're telling me the poll gets spiked. No, the DNC had nothing to do with that, I'm sure. Then 2 weeks before the caucus, the DNC, who, by the way, insisted that an app even be used. Why the hell did we need an app? Why wasn't the good old days of just calling in the results? There wasn't a problem until 2020. Why did we have to muck the waters with an app? Before, each caucus site just called in the results to the state party, no problem. The DNC, weeks before, tells the Shadow app, we want you to make a sub software. We want not just the app that distributes the results, but we want you to make a convert and make some type of software that will update us, give us the raw numbers in real time. You know who else gets raw numbers in real time for elections? The mafia. The mafia, in the good old days, used to get the raw numbers from polling sites. You know who else? Mexican drug cartels in Mexico that have rigged elections for decades. It's insane. The DNC shouldn't have the raw numbers. The DNC is supposed to be a neutral body. The audit states the conversion tool had coding errors that spit out inaccurate numbers and caused confusion about the accuracy of the results, eventually leading to delays in reporting. But the state's party's app never malfunctioned nor was hacked, the report concludes. So again, the state party app didn't have a problem and it wasn't hacked. It was this shadow app run by Hillary Clinton, 2016 campaign people, by the way. The shadow app, which, oh, by the way, Pete Buttigieg's campaign used as a vendor. When the DNC's database conversion tool failed to work correctly, it caused the DNC to wrongly stop the Iowa State Party from reporting its results, and the Iowa Party entire planned reporting process was thrown into disarray. The DNC's interjection was the catalyst for the resulting chaos in the boiler room and in the Iowa State Party's attempts to manually collect and confirm caucus results by hand. If the DNC had not interjected itself into the results reporting process based on its erroneous data conversion, caucus night could conceivably have proceeded according to the Iowa State Party's initial plan. Let's just get to the bottom of this right now, okay? What the Iowa State Party is saying, and by the way, I have two sources, because I was in Iowa covering this, thanks to you being a member, hint, hint, sign up, statuscoup.com/join. You know any other independent outlets that were in Iowa, that were in New Hampshire, that were in Nevada, that were in South Carolina, that were in California on Super Tuesday, that were in Michigan? We were there, all of them, on a shoestring budget, by the way, thanks to you signing up as a member for $5 a month. Hint, hint. This is not something that we should just gloss over, because there is going to be no progressive seizing power if we just allow elections to continually be rigged. Nobody can tell me that this was just some innocent thing. The DNC wanted the Shadow app to create a conversion tool to allow them to see the raw real-time numbers in real time for one reason and one reason only. They wanted to see if Bernie Sanders was going to win so that they could fucking stop it. This isn't only my opinion. We know this to be true because there was reporting done that at the end, just to deprive Bernie of the victory, what Tom Perez was trying to do is there was satellite locations, if you recall. And these satellite locations were brand new in the Iowa caucus. And they were satellite locations, particularly in some areas, Latino areas, satellite locations, caucus locations. There were satellite locations with Somali Americans. There were satellite locations specifically for Muslims. There were satellite locations specifically out of the state of Iowa for people from Iowa that lived, or college students or whatever. And Bernie's campaign really, really focused on these satellite locations, specifically Muslims, Latinos, which is about 2 or 3% of Iowa, immigrants, and Bernie. The Intercept did a great report. I think they had a report in there. Bernie cleaned up. He cleaned up at these satellite locations. Tom Perez, at the last minute, was trying to change the way the satellite locations, their results, he was basically trying to weigh it down so that the satellite locations weren't measured in terms of the amount of votes that would go to Bernie equally to the normal caucus locations. What do you call that other than theft, fraud, rigging? Why is Tom Perez not in front of a judge? This is theft. Not only did Bernie Sanders win the first caucus round by 6,000 votes, not only did he win the second round by 2,000 votes. Not only did they not use this shadow app to completely fucking sow chaos, delay the results, but it changed the entire primary. Why? I was there. I could tell you why. When you are declared, traditionally, when you're declared the Iowa caucus winner, okay, that's hundreds of millions of dollars in TV airtime for 10 days or however many days between Iowa and the New Hampshire primary. You're declared the winner. Obama probably was president because he won the Iowa caucus and the huge bump he got after that. CNN, MSNBC, the New York Times, the Washington Post, everybody, they cover you, right? The local outlets in New Hampshire are covering who won in Iowa so that voters in New Hampshire, which is coming after Iowa, usually in 7 to 10 days, they then see, oh, this person won Iowa. We're going to give that guy or gal a look. Pete Buttigieg, after falsely being declared the winner of the Iowa caucus because of this fraud, he went up 10 points in a week. I remember pulling up at I think it was a local high school in New Hampshire. It was fucking freezing, by the way. And there was a line like around the block to go in for Pete Buttigieg's rally. I interviewed people outside before they accosted my black cameraman, by the way, inside, if you remember that. His staff tried to throw us out, the only black guy in the whole building, my cameraman. I interviewed people online, what brings you out here to see Pete? It's like, oh, I wasn't really looking at him, but, he won the caucus, so I wanted to, give him I'm considering him now that he won the caucus. He didn't win the Iowa caucus. He had the gall to go out there with no results and declare himself the winner. And then CNN, MSNBC pushed that propaganda out. And frankly, I think Bernie's campaign made a mistake. And I said it at the time. They should have went to court. They should have been filing lawsuits against the DNC if need be. So, going forward, the DNC should not be involved in the primaries. Let me say it again, and I'm taking my glasses off. The DNC is a private company. It is not a governmental body. It is a private company. It should not be involved with the primaries. If they want to hold debates and they want to manage the debates, that's fine. But the day of, the primaries, the caucuses, whatever, they should not be telling the state parties what to do. They should not be interjecting on the state parties on when and how, or how and when they can release their numbers. They should not be mandating that a state uses an app for the first time instead of just, I don't know, each caucus site calling in the results like they always have done with no problem. They should not be asking the app or even be in a position to make demands on the app developers to 2 or 3 weeks before the caucus make a separate software so we could see the raw numbers before. Why the hell should the DNC see the raw numbers before? Unless they want to change the numbers. That's the only reason that they would want to see the raw numbers in real time. Unless they want to change the results. And that's what they did. They did change the results by sowing complete chaos, by delaying the results, by allowing Pete Buttigieg to have days and days and days, a week, until New Hampshire as the declared winner of the Iowa caucus. And that way, Pete only lost the New Hampshire primary by a point. Here's what would have happened. I know it shoulda, coulda, woulda. If the DNC would have been out of it, if they wouldn't have had this Fakakta app, Bernie would have won the Iowa caucus pretty convincingly. He would have got a lot of coverage. Even the media can't ignore it if you win the Iowa caucus. He would have won the New Hampshire primary by a lot more than a point because, again, Pete only lost New Hampshire by a point because he got a huge bump by falsely being declared the caucus winner. If you win Iowa significantly, if you win New Hampshire significantly, there's never been, I think there was only one other time that whoever won Iowa and New Hampshire didn't win. Bernie would have won Iowa convincingly. He would have won New Hampshire convincingly. He did win Nevada convincingly, and he would have been the primary. If he won Iowa, New Hampshire, and Nevada convincingly, it's very hard to stop that train. But because he was not optically declared the winner of Iowa, it allowed Pete to narrowly lose New Hampshire. That's what happened. And we need to hold these people accountable for this. We can't just allow this to be a story in Politico and then nothing happens. There should be calls, frankly, for Tom Perez to have to answer some questions criminally. Why did you need the raw numbers? Who had access to the raw numbers? What was done with those raw numbers? The DNC servers should be given to the authorities. Their emails should be given to the authorities. I'm not fucking around here. This is a potential crime. The developers from the Shadow app, we should have their emails. We should have their calls. It's very possible the Shadow app did nothing wrong, and they were just doing what the DNC demanded. But I want Tom Perez's emails. I want other DNC members' emails. I want to see their phone logs. How many calls were going on that night and the nights after? And Tom Perez should be put under oath. Because if they're allowed to get away with that, say hello to the same thing in 2024. If not an app, they'll find another way. So I'm currently in the background working on getting an interview with somebody who was in Iowa during this and knows a lot more. Told me today it's actually a lot worse even than that report. But that person is kind of thinking about whether he wants to go public, because if they do go public, there could be consequences for them. So, I don't want to apply too much pressure to this person, but if you're watching, I think this is a really, really important thing. And I think if you have information beyond what was reported by the Iowa State Party that shows that this possibly was criminal, then you would be doing a huge service to go public with it, and we'd be happy to have you. So if you're watching, you know who you are. All right. Let me read some questions, comments, concerns before I go. Thank you guys for being patient. I know between Jen being sick and me not being able to be live for a few days, I know it was kind of quiet here, but I will be live tomorrow and back to a pretty regular schedule from here on out. Great work. Thank you. Lefties are losing the war. I live in Trump country. They see Dems mumbling about what they can't do, and they see MAGA turds fighting ruthlessly. If we don't fight for the working class, we will lose. I agree with you. Totally agree with you, Jasper. And I'm sorry that you live in Trump country. How is Jen doing? Haven't followed her Twitter in a bit. Oh, I gave a whole thing at the beginning of the show. She's one of the COVID long haulers, they say. A doctor told her, most people generally start to see improvement after 10 to 14 days, but there is a subset of people where it could take like over a month. She's had an on and off fever. Just when she thinks the fever is gone, it comes back for 4 weeks. She continues to have breathing problems, but not to a point of needing a ventilator or being hospitalized, thankfully. She's really, really fatigued, very, very fatigued. And she's having some nausea, which is a COVID symptom. So she's, I'm hoping since it's been like a little over 4 weeks, the doctor told her it should be between 4 and 5.5 weeks. So, for those people who are truthers and just say, oh, it's no different than the cold or flu. Yeah, well, go ask Jen, who's been literally suffering in bed for a month with a fever and breathing problems and coughing, if it's just a cold. Jen has had it worse than I did. Mine was bad, but most of my worst symptoms were for about 2 weeks. My cough lasted about a month, but the fever and stuff like that was about a week or so. So she's had it tough, but she's hanging in there. I know she appreciates the emails, so if you want to send her your good wishes, it's info@statuscoup.com, info@statuscoup.com. Send her your well wishes. Good to see you back, Jay. A not be lighter on Jay's back. No, my wonderful wife is wonderful. She rubs my back. She rubs my head. This is what we do. Not to get personal. She might be mad at me. But we watch the girly shows, 90 Day Fiancé, Married at First Sight, whatever other. She says I like it. I do like Married at First Sight. I do find that entertaining. But the most entertaining part of it is I lay in her lap and she rubs my head while we watch. And that's love. To me, that's love. So she strokes my head, and we watch the girly shows. So, yeah, that's our romance. Not to you, Jordan. Are you really going to attack Jimmy for holding politicians accountable? WTF? I mean, is there like golden silence? Look up nuance in the dictionary, man. I mean, it's crazy. Who's attacking Jimmy? I agree with Jimmy. I've been saying for 2 hours I agree with Jimmy. But I'm sorry, I'm not going to just, cheerlead and blow Jimmy on the internet. I don't agree with the articulation of what he's saying. Thank you, Myra, 1999. Feel better soon, Jen. I agree with him on the actual fight. I agree with him on the policy. I agree with him on holding up Pelosi's speaker vote in exchange for a floor vote. I agree with all that. What I don't agree with is calling people that aren't in 100% agreement with you or have not arrived at the place you want them to be yet politically, calling them fucking cowards and sellouts and feckless and rant. If your goal is to pressure them to do what you want, you're doing the opposite, because that's not going to pressure them to do what they want. What it does do is make them hate you. And out of spite, because they're humans, not do what you want. That's how that works. So you could hold them accountable without calling people fucking, rant. So I'm sorry. It might be good to, rev up the troops and your viewers, and it serves people's righteous indignation, but strategically, it's not smart because it doesn't actually, it pushes away people that either are your allies or could be your allies. So I don't know what to tell you. I don't know. I don't know why you think that's attacking him. I've said I agree with him. I just think I'm not saying go with kid gloves and say, pretty please, AOC, pretty please, can you do this? That's not what I'm saying. You could be aggressive. You could be forceful. You don't need to call people fucking cowards and sellouts. And I mean, it's just not going to get what you want. If your goal is to have an angry group therapy on the internet, if that's what you want, yeah, go ahead. Call them whatever you want, rant, rave, that's fine. But if your goal is to actually get them to do what you want, I don't know. Typically when somebody calls me a fucking coward, sellout, asshole, this, that, and the other thing, I typically don't want to do anything for them. So, sorry, I just disagree. And if to you that means like I'm attacking him, then I think that's ridiculous. I'm not attacking him. I agree with him. I just think you could be articulating it a different way. He is who he is. He's not going to change. But what I'm saying is, if you want to push her to do what you want, the case you're making is right. And you are getting people. He is moving the dial. He is gaining momentum among people. But if your goal is to get AOC and those politicians to do it, you're building momentum in terms of people on the internet and social media and YouTube. Yeah, you're building momentum. You're not building momentum for AOC to actually do it. For these progressives to do it, what you're doing is basically making them hate you, and you're alienating them. So I think, listen, I criticize AOC here. I tweeted something at her yesterday saying, stop twisting yourself into a human pretzel to rationalize this and make excuses. I tweeted that yesterday. But that's different than saying you're a fucking sellout coward, this, that, the other thing. So it's not about, it's what he's saying is right. How he's saying it, not right. If you don't agree with me, sorry. We don't have to agree on everything. So, AOC is forced to respond. You are wrong. Okay. She responded. You want a cookie? She's not responding with what you want. And she's not even responding to Jimmy. She's not going to respond to Jimmy because he's saying all these terrible things. She's a human being. The other people are human beings. So maybe if you take to approach, call her out. Demand that she come on your show to explain herself without all the other fuck this, fuck that. Sorry. Don't agree with it. All right. Thank you, folks. I'll be back tomorrow. Please send Jen your well wishes. info@statuscoup.com. info@statuscoup.com. And also, sign up as a member to Status Coup. statuscoup.com/join. statuscoup.com/join. You can become a member for as low as $5 a month. Really appreciate your viewership. Love you. Peace.